The film begins with a police officer named Marv Boswick strolling through a street festival. A man wearing a hat steals the girl wallet in the crowd. Boswick tells that man to stop, but man runs away, and he chases the thief through the crowd, eventually following him into the sewers. He finds him in there and kicks him, only to find dummy. Then the man appears from behind, wearing a pig mask, attacked and knocked unconscious. When he wakes up, Boswick realizes he's on a subway track. He is standing on a stool, tied up with razor wire, and his tongue is clamped in a vise. A TV is also placed on the track turns on, showing a video from someone imitating the Jigsaw Killer from the Saw films. The video tells that there are 3 trains arriving in 2 minutes, and this will be his final stop. The video also accuses Boswick of using his tongue to lie in court and convict innocent people. Now, he must rip out his tongue and jump off the track to avoid being hit by an oncoming subway. Boswick struggles and manages to tear out his tongue, but it's too late, and he is crushed by the train. Then, we cut to a man named Zeke Banks carrying out a robbery with his gang. As his gang attempts to flee, they are cornered by the police. It turns out that Zeke is actually an undercover agent. Since he didn't notify his precinct about this operation, his cover is blown. We then see Zeke in the office where his senior, Captain Angie Garza, is scolding him for not cooperating with the team. Zeke then tells her that he does not trust any other police officers to work with. Even his distrust, she assigns him a rookie partner named William Shank to work together and investigate Boswick's death. Zeke has a tense relationship with the other cops in the precinct. Shank discovers that they dislike Zeke because he reported a corrupt officer. Zeke also feels overshadowed because his father, Marcus, was the precinct's former captain and a well-loved cop. Shank comments that Marcus is the inspiration for everything Zeke does. Then the 2 cops head out in the car to investigate subway incident. They arrive there and investigate the murder in the subway, unaware that the victim is Boswick. After returning to the precinct, Zeke receives a package containing a USB drive, "Play Me" written on it. It features a message from the new Jigsaw Killer, who uses a pig marionette dressed in a police uniform as his avatar. The killer states that his goal is to reform the police through his actions. The message ends with an image of a spiral painted on the courthouse wall. The cops head to the courthouse and find another box containing Boswick's tongue and badge. They realize the killer is targeting them and that Boswick was the subway victim. Zeke then visits Boswick's widow to tell about her husband's death and ends up arguing with his ex-wife, who is also there. Zeke goes home for the night and finds the door is open. He pulls out his gun and goes inside, only to find his father waiting for him. Their relationship is distant and strained. Despite this, Marcus promises to help Zeke with the case, suggesting they discuss it further over dinner the next night. Zeke starts seeing at the window, and then the flashback shows. In a flashback, we learn that the officer Zeke reported for corruption was named Pete. Zeke saw Pete shoot and kill a potential witness in a murder case involving a cop. Because of Zeke's testimony, Pete was sentenced to 9 years in prison. The next morning, detectives Krause and Fitch review video footage and identify the man Boswick was chasing before his murder. They choose not to inform Zeke because they dislike him. Fitch goes to a warehouse where he thinks the suspect lives but finds it empty. Instead, he is knocked unconscious by a cloaked figure. When he wakes up, he discovers he is in a trap. There is also a TV in which Pig Mask Man telling him, "I want to play a game." Then the scene changes and we see Zeke going to his father's home to work on the case, but he does not find his father there. Then the flashback reveals that Marcus disapproved of Zeke turning in Pete, but still did his best to protect his son from the inevitable backlash. The next day, Zeke receives another package from the Jigsaw Killer, revealing a new location. The police go there and find Fitch's badge and his 10 severed fingers. A flashback shows what happened. Fitch once shot an innocent man who insulted him during a traffic stop. The Jigsaw Killer placed Fitch in a tub, slowly filling with water that would eventually reach exposed electrical wires, electrocuting him. Each of Fitch's fingers was connected by wires to a winch that activated when Fitch clenched his teeth on a mechanism. The Jigsaw Killer explained in a recording that since Fitch used his fingers to kill, he must now tear them off to survive. Fitch tries to rip off his fingers, but, like Boswick, is too slow and fails to escape death. In another flashback, we learn that Fitch refused to provide backup for Zeke out of anger over what happened with Pete. As a result, Zeke is shot while chasing a suspect. Marcus punches Fitch for his insubordination but doesn't remove him from the force. Zeke and Shank continue their investigation but find no leads. Zeke decides to question Pete, who now leads a recovery group for ex-convicts. Pete regrets killing the witness but remains bitter at Zeke for turning him in. Despite this, he provides an alibi for the murder. Zeke then goes to his father's house, but he has still not returned home. The next day, Zeke receives another package. Inside is a piece of Shank's skin, identifiable by a tattoo from Shank's arm. In a recording, the killer says he is under Zeke's skin and will soon go for the head. There is also another clue connected to Zeke, passed inside. Zeke is devastated, believing his new partner is dead. As Zeke goes to inform Shank's family of his death, the police scanner reports an attack by the Jigsaw Killer on a beat cop. Zeke rushes to the scene, where the injured cop describes being slashed by someone in a pig mask. This confuses Zeke, as it doesn't fit the Jigsaw killer's usual methods. He eventually realizes that the attack was meant to distract the police. When the killer mentioned going for the head, Zeke deduces that he meant Angie, the head of police. He calls her, but she does not answer the call, and Zeke rushes back to the station. Simultaneously, Angie receives a text instructing her to retrieve a file from the cold case storage room that will help solve the Jigsaw case. The message lures her into an ambush, and she is captured by the killer and placed in a trap. In a recording, the killer explains that Angie must be punished for ignoring the rampant corruption in her precinct. A faucet above her head begins dripping scalding hot wax onto her face. She can deactivate the trap by jabbing her neck against a blade to sever her spinal cord. Otherwise, the wax will kill her. Angie is ultimately killed by the wax, with Zeke arriving moments too late to save her. Zeke accuses Pete of the murders, while another cop blames Marcus. Unsure of what to do since he doesn't know his father's whereabouts, Zeke decides to pursue his initial lead and goes after Pete. When he reaches Pete's workplace, he is knocked unconscious by the killer. We then flash back to the recent past and witness Marcus discovering the killer's headquarters. Marcus is ambushed by the killer, and, after a brief struggle, he is knocked unconscious. When Zeke regains consciousness, he finds himself handcuffed to a pipe with a hacksaw nearby. Prepared to saw through his hand, Zeke spots a bobby pin on the floor nearby. Using the pin, he manages to pick the lock. Zeke discovers that he is locked in a room with Pete, who is being held captive. A recording plays, informing them that Pete's life is now in Zeke's hands. A crusher machine activates, sending glass bottles onto a conveyor belt that leads into the machine. As the bottles are crushed, shards are shot out and into Pete's back. Despite being injured by the glass, Zeke finds the key to release Pete. Though Zeke frees him from the trap, Pete succumbs to his wounds and dies. The door opens, and Zeke steps out, only to come face to face with Shank. It's revealed that Shank is the new Jigsaw killer. We learn that Shank is the son of the witness Pete murdered. Zeke made sure that Shank wasn't also killed after helping him stay hidden after his dad was shot. Shank reveals that he fabricated his family to avoid suspicion as a killer. Additionally, the skin with the tattoo belonged to Boswick, and Shank tattooed it after Boswick's death. Shank informs Zeke that he has his father in his custody, having pickpocketed Zeke's phone and sent him the address to the ambush. Shank then invites Zeke to join him in his mission of targeting corrupt cops. Zeke agrees to join Shank, but the killer remains skeptical. Shank believes Zeke failed the first test by attempting to save Pete. Now, he intends to give Zeke a second test to determine if he can be trusted. Shank calls the police and reports an active shooting at their location. He then guides Zeke into a room where Marcus is suspended by wires from the rafters, his blood slowly draining. Shank hands Zeke a gun with one bullet. The test is simple. Zeke can shoot a mechanism that will release his father, allowing him to escape, but Shank will flee using a hidden elevator. Alternatively, Zeke can shoot Shank to stop him, but then won't have any bullets left to free Marcus, who will succumb to blood loss. Or Zeke can choose to escape with Shank, proving his loyalty and becoming his partner. Shank explains that Marcus is being punished because, as the chief, he presided over a reign of terror, allowing his precinct to engage in various illegal activities under the guise of being tough on crime. When Shank said everything was due to Marcus, he meant that Marcus is indirectly responsible for his father's death. Marcus disputes this depiction, arguing that his tactics did more good than harm. Meanwhile, the police arrive and begin storming the warehouse. Zeke ultimately uses the bullet to trigger the mechanism, freeing his father. Although Marcus remains attached to the wires, he is lowered to the ground. Zeke quickly removes the tubes draining Marcus' blood as Shank makes a dash for the escape elevator. Zeke manages to catch up to Shank, and the two engage in a fierce fist fight. Meanwhile, the police burst through the door and rush in. Suddenly, the wires reactivate, manipulating Marcus like a marionette, mimicking the same type of puppet Shank used as the Jigsaw killer. The wires create the illusion that Marcus is aiming a weapon at the cops. Despite Zeke attempts to call off the officers, they open fire, tragically killing Marcus in front of his son. As Zeke screams out in anguish, Shank disappears in his elevator with a smile on his face. In this way, movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.